What's going on, everyone? My name's Tenebris Infinite, and as of our double feature on builds this week, we're swinging from the ultra rare melee build to an excellent magical sniper build. Fast, high damage, crowd control, and most of all, unique gameplay elements. This build is a fantastic build for any Realm Walker that likes their ranged gameplay, but wants to shake things up and provide new ways to play. From a pistol that acts as the perfect sidearm, clearing out weaker mobs, and having more than enough damage to deal with the stronger foes of the game, I wanted to make a bit of a theme with our guns today and pull away from our typical purple and green loadouts. So by prioritizing magic-based components, we wound up with this really awesome gold loadout, harkening back to my N64 days playing GoldenEye with its overpowered golden gun. So I kinda embodied that into all of our guns of the day. We then have our Slingbow, the pinnacle of a magic-based ranged build. This is a disgusting form of crowd control, wiping out swaths of max-level mobs, packs of creatures, and every swarm the bounce sends your way. Our build doesn't rely on any casting outside of what you personally choose to bring along with you to fill your extra slots. Most of our magic is put into increasing our area of effect damage with elemental ammo and benefiting their individual effects. With ice, we have the option to freeze enemies for a short duration, slowing them and increasing our damage slightly. Lightning will confuse automatons, and with fire and poison, we can add damage over time. Certain enemies resist each type, so you'll have to choose based on what you're hunting for what sort of ammo that you'll want to bring along. Then we have the titular sniper rifle of the build. A beautiful Lee Metford with excellent damage output, minor crowd control, and just a huge amount of style to it. This might be one of my favorite looking guns we've made so far, and the thing hits like a truck too. This build embodies it all, and with enough stealth to get by, it really brings the whole magic sniper concept full circle. So today, let's show you folks how to make a magical sniper build, complete with a 3-piece loadout to complement it. If you folks enjoy these builds, please let me know with a thumbs up. It goes a long way in showing me what sort of content to focus on for you folks here with Nightingale, outside of my own creative offshoots and ideas. So now let's dive into this build with the most important part first, the resources. Our first important resource, fabled Achlis Deer, as a resource with both speed and magic, this is essential to the build, and I'd even say for any late game magic build, you'll want at least a bit of Achlis Deer to improve your overall mobility. If only the thing wasn't such a frustrating hunt. Luckily, due to my discovery of infinite realm looping, I do have the ultimate solution though. But that can wait until next week. For now, when you hunt this skittish bugger, to improve your returns, you'll want to plop down a transmuter and play the Hunter Eminent card after you successfully kill the deer, then use that to boost your rates. Ecthionir spawns with a huge pack of deer, and there will likely be many packs nearby him, so the hunt is very challenging. But as a resource of both magic and speed, it again is super necessary to the overall build. We'll also hunt some Carnoots. Fabled Carnoot is planned for the future, but as it only offers extra health recovery, it isn't necessary, and plain tier 3 Carnoot will do just fine. Carnoots are still ridiculous to fight, so best of luck in hunting them. You might want to use the pugilist trick we discovered earlier to boost your damage up enough to just one-shot the guy. It removes a lot of the pain and agony. Then we'll need some Enaidia. Then we'll grab some fabled Khepris Scarab from a desert ascended hunt. You're looking for Strog, who may or may not be related to Mog, but dad jokes and name puns aside, he's a big blue beetle, very easy to spot and a pretty easy hunt overall. Since he's in a hunt realm, we can get his resources stockpiled pretty easily here. You'll need quite a lot of Grendel Druid thread, You can find them in any swamp realm excluding abeyance realms. They're easy to take down, but it still is a bit of a grind. You'll also need the lumber that they drop as well. Then lastly, we'll need Fabled Sun Giant drops. They're some of the best resources in the game, so this poor Sun Giant is on the hit list, and I'm sure our friend the Beelzebub has a lot to say for that. And that is that. It's a pretty simple list of resources. Now we'll play the greenhouse card to boost our clothing stats. We'll start with our Poet's Hat, making our cloth from Grendel Druid thread, then making our lining from fabled Achlis Meat, and more Druid thread. Then, lastly, we'll make our ornament from Enaidia. This all comes together to make an awesome magic hat with high base movement speed and solid range damage. Then we'll make the Poet's Jacket with more Druid thread for the cloth, a bit of Enaidia for the plates that will turn into buckles, some rope made out of more Druid thread, and lastly some Achlis hide for the leather. And similar to our hat, we're looking at a great spread of stats amongst those that we aimed for, with good magic, ranged, and base speed stats. For our pack, we're making yet another Explorer's Pack. Something we really need soon are some good backpacks added to the game, but for now, we'll go with the old reliable Explorer's Pack, starting off with Fabled Scarab Chitin, which will turn into hide, then into our leather and our straps, then Enaidia for our buttons, and the pack we wind up with is great for all of its stats in terms of speed, magic, and then some ranged on top. I just wish Chitin looked a little bit nicer. Stroke has this great deep blue color that would be really nice to use in our outfits, I think. Now for the Druidic casual shirt, we'll start with Grendel Druid thread for the cloth, then we'll take a pretty large sum of Khepris Meat and dump that into the lining of the shirt, and lastly, we'll make our ornament and buttons out of Enaidia, winding up with a shirt that gives us a good boost to all of our stats that we're aiming for, but additionally, a nice amount of health too. Now for our Poet's Breeches. These are interesting as they are late game pants, but they have no use of metals. But it all matches the set, so we'll roll with them anyways. This is more of a fun build than an optimized one. So we'll start with Druid thread for the cloth, then we'll take Achlis Meat and turn that into fabric for the lining, where we'll use Grendel thread to finish that off, and then for some extra Grendel in your pants, and not like that, come on now, but we'll finish it off with some extra Grendel thread to make the pants. Tons of magic, a bit of speed, they're snazzy though, and that's what counts. Now we'll make our Sentinel's gloves. The Poet set doesn't include any gloves, so we'll use our own. The Sentinels are the best gloves in the game anyway, so it's a bit of a benefit. Though they do have some slight clipping issues that hopefully will be resolved in the future. Either way, we'll make this using Achlis hide for the leather, then a ton of Carnute meat for the lining, a bit of Grendel thread for the cloth, and lastly, a small amount of Enaidia for the buttons. And I love these gloves. They are some real endgame clothing, and they offer just a great amount of stats. We'll balance things out as we have on our previous clothing here. And lastly, our Poet's shoes, slightly oversized for dramatic effect. We'll make these pretty much purely out of Druid thread, then a bit of Enaidia for the buckles. And we wind up with some good shoes, with solid magic and a bit of speed on them. Nothing too expensive either for these. So now for our guns. First, we'll play Quarry to get a general boost to our ranged and critical damage. First for our sidearm, the Webley Revolver. We'll make the Marksman Barrel out of a Tier 3 Sun Giant shaft and a Sun Giant ornament. Then we'll make our fasteners and our filigree out of Enaidia. Then lastly, we'll make our refined action out of a mix of Sun Giant and Enaidia, making sure to keep our Sun Giant on top so that it doesn't impact the look of our gun. Though if you want to swap things around to make your gun purple, you totally can. The stats will remain the same. Either way, this is the start of a deadly little sidearm with great damage and magic stats. For our Slingbow build, we'll use the Alchemist card, then swap back to Quarry when we're finished. This will give us a good boost to our final magic on the Slingbow, pushing it just a bit closer to the cap. Now for the Slingbow, and this one proved to give me a few challenges. I don't often make Slingbows as there just isn't any late game recipes for it just yet in the game. But a Magick Slingbow is by far one of the funnest weapons for a Magick user. So the hard part was how to balance good range damage and magic damage on a weapon with lower end base stats. And I think I got a really good end result here. We'll use Grendel Lumber gilded with Enaidia for the handle, then Enaidia for the fasteners. Then we'll use Sun Giant for the ornament, Druid Thread for the rope, and lastly a bit of Carnood Hide for the leather to give it a boost of the highest magic you can get on leather. And altogether it makes a great weapon, but I am excited to see what an endgame Slingbow would be like if we get to see one added in the future. And lastly, the weapon I'm happiest from the set, the Magick Sniper. I always say all you need is a good ranged build and a good crit hitting Lee Metford, and nothing can stop you in this game. And man, does this live up to that sentiment. We'll start with Sun Giant for the barrel. Its high crit will come in handy, and then we'll make our metal plate out of more Sun Giant. We'll gild tier 5 Swampwood with Enaidia, then turn that into a stock. Then lastly, we'll make a refined action purely out of Enaidia so that we can push our base damage up by a good chunk. And from all the Sun Giant, we have good crit and magic. From the Swamp and Enaidia, we have good ranged and a small speed boost. It's a great gun, and even if you don't make the set, I'd still advise giving this Metford build a spin. It's not expensive, and it works really well even on just a plain ranged build. While we craft our ammo, we'll play the Industry card to essentially quadruple our output, cutting the costs on ingot crafting and making more ammo per craft. I have a full video on Magick ammo crafting, and if you'd like to check it out, it'll be linked at the end of this one. But if you don't want to craft, you can also gather it for free from vaults. This is slower and may have some competition if someone else runs the vault and would like ammo as well. So I do advise the crafting route, but can't blame you if you'd just like the ammo for free. So why Magick ammo? Is the power difference really worth it? And I think it definitely is. With ice ammo as our demonstration, which isn't even as strong as fire or poison, we see our damage jump up by 100,000, which I think is well worth the investment. On the Poet's Hat, we have 162% range damage, 360 magic, and 3.5% movement speed. We put 2 speed infusions and 1 ranged infusion on here, and for our charm, we went with the Charm of Steadiness, enhancing our follow-up shots with all of our weapons and greatly benefiting the Webley pistol's burst fire. Then for our jacket, we have again the same 162% ranged and 3.5% movement speed, with a little less magic at 288. We have 2 speed and 1 ranged infusions, then the Charm of Ammunition, which will save us some of our ammo along the way, and is really good for the Slingbow, allowing you to fire follow-up shots quicker without needing to reload. Then on our Explorer's Pack, we have 162% ranged, and then 144 magic, but this time with the soft-capped 4.2% movement speed. For infusions, we again have 2 speed and 1 ranged, and for charms on this, we fittingly have the Charm of Momentum, boosting our damage based on our momentum towards the enemy. For our casual shirt, we have 216% range damage, as well as 306 magic, a good offensive boost, and with the capri, we also have more health here too, then 3.5% for our movement speed again. For our infusions, we have 2 speed and 1 magic, and then the Charm of Mercy, which will give us the chance to get quick kills on stronger enemies. Then for our pants, we have a whopping 450 magic, then 2.5% movement speed. On this we have 2 speed infusions and 1 magic. Then we have the Charm of Patience to boost our damage when we take a slight pause from dealing or receiving damage. For our gloves, we have 108% ranged, 414 magic, and 3.5% speed. We have 2 speed infusions and then 1 magic, and we went with Charm of Blindside here. I'd like to not rely on Charm of the Pugilist too much. It's fun, but if it gets heavy nerfed, it won't be good if you started to really rely on it. So Blindside is the better option in this scenario, especially when we want to go Fabled hunting. Then for our shoes, we have lesser stats admittedly, with 108% ranged, 270 magic, and 2.5% speed. We have 2 speed and 1 magic infusion, and then we have Charm of the Wanderer, so we can chase down whatever fabled creature we need to without worrying as much about our stamina. On our Webley, we have 1134 damage with 3.1 times crit, and then 378 magic, which we could boost even further if we equip a lantern in our offhand. We also have a pretty decent 3.3% movement speed. On this we have 1 ranged and 2 crits. I didn't want to optimize this setup too much, but I spent a lot of time balancing the weapons to find the perfect combos of resources and infusions, and this pistol is sick. Great crit, good speed, solid damage, and a great boost for magic. On our Slingbow, we have 1476 range damage with 2 times crit, then a crazy 460 magic. On this we have 3 ranged boosts to improve our overall damage, as pushing magic further incurs some heavy losses. And slingbows aren't really crit machines like the standard guns are. They're fine, but not as reliable. Then on this and the Webley, we have the Charm of the Sniper. This is to improve our damage fall off against enemies that are further away from us, as our clothing already provides some really good damage benefits for us passively. And finally, the primary, our titular Magick Sniper, with 1800 damage on the dot, 4.1 times crit, and then 270 magic. This thing is a powerhouse and a ton of fun to use. Crowd control or just beaning headshots, it is a very effective gun. The charm of called shots is a blessing and a curse, making this gun hit massively for crits, but lowering its crowd control effectiveness. But with our Slingbow, we already have the perfect form of crowd control, so specifying this for being a huge crit magic bullet is a more effective way to spread out this build's worth. So with this build, we ultimately have great movement speed, high magic, and high range damage for our magical ammo, solid health for a combat build, and really decent stamina. Then we also have the option of elemental variety with our ammunition, going from fire in the forest to poison or lightning in the desert, then ice for swamps, or however you'd like to mix things up. You can cast spells with this, but just don't try to bring this build to a fist fight, as that's not anywhere close to being what this build is made for. And that's that, man. Another build done and dusted here. And this one's really fun. Unlike our other builds where I made them purely from a stats perspective, with this one I really tried to tie a kind of class type to it. And I was wondering if that's something that you enjoy. If so, please let me know down in the comments and maybe send off some ideas of class types that you'd like to see done. These are more fun and a bit less intensive to test, so I'd like to do quite a few of them as we go along here. But either way, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one. Until then, peace.